Welcome everyone to another episode of Power Core Productions and Podcastings. I'm your host, John Harrington, back to hit you with another video, and today we're going to be doing What If Naruto Was in High School DxD Season 2, Part 2, Rise of the White Dragon. As always, I want to thank everyone who supports Power Core Productions and Podcastings. You guys genuinely mean a lot to me. Cannot do it without you guys. You guys make the channel grow, you make the core grow, and your support means everything. First and foremost, don't forget to check out today's earlier morning video, that being What If Sasuke Uchiha Was a Girl Part 3, Naruto Yokai series. And also, like I said before in that video, tomorrow, and I think going forward, what I'm going to do for Wednesday will be the afternoon exclusive video, simply because I have things that I need to do Wednesday, so the amount of time that I can devote to making 2 videos would be very difficult. So it would be easier just to put out the one, and since you guys would probably prefer High School DxD Naruto anyway, then that's the video you're gonna get. That video, it's gonna have a lot added to it, since there's going to be a lot to cover, since tomorrow's video will be the season 2 finale. So there will be a lot to get into. So that video is probably going to be extra long. Definitely going to be longer than this video today. So stay tuned for that as well. And after that video tomorrow, we'll be getting into season 3. So we are already halfway through with the reboot so far, and I'm loving the feedback you guys are giving. Hope that it'll be a lot more enjoyable. I've taken a lot of you guys' thoughts and considerations while making this, and I want to say thank you to everyone who has been a part of that journey. It truly means a lot. But we're not going to waste any more time, keep you guys waiting. So without further ado, let's get into What If Naruto Was in High School DxD Season 2, Part 2, Rise of the White Dragon. As always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Naruto, Kiba, and Konako would meet with Irina in Zenovia, the 5 agreeing to split up into 2 teams as they would search various points through the town, hoping to find wherever Freed were hiding. The first team would be of Irina and Zenovia, along with 2 clones made by Naruto. Irina being interested in Naruto and how he suddenly obtained these powers, he would give her a brief rundown of everything he had been through after the 2 had stopped seeing each other for a long time. Irina being immensely sad hearing Naruto's backstory, especially saddened by the story of his father Minato and mother Kushina, the sacrifices the parents made to save their young child, causing her to be filled with hope and confidence in the Lord. While the other team would be of the original Naruto, along with Konako and Kiba. As the 2 would split and go their separate ways, Kiba would have a good feeling of where to look, eventually arriving back where they had fought in the original Stray Devil during Naruto's first mission along with the other members of the House of Grimmery. As they would arrive to the abandoned warehouse, there they would come face to face with Freed, who would be using his holy sword rapidly, which increased his natural speed, making him much faster, keeping him on par with even Naruto and Kiba. Kiba would engage the former exorcist in swordplay, the 2 colliding with one another as they battled along the rooftop, Naruto boosting his boosted gear to transfer the power to Kiba, to give him the advantage in the fight. He would create 2 more clones to aid him in the meantime, the clones moving to use the Uzumaki chakra chains, which could drain one's own energy while holding him in place. Freed finding it immensely difficult to cut through the chakra chains, allowing Kiba just enough time to turn the tides of battle, as Naruto would prepare to amplify him to its highest degree. As they were continuing in his boosted gears transformation, another figure would enter into the battlefield, a man that Kiba recognized as Valper Galilei. As Valper would explain to Freed how to use the Holy Sword to its true extent, giving him enough strength to cut through the clone's chakra chains before defeating them soundly. Naruto at that moment would reach the boosted gear's limit. Moving over to Kiba at quick speeds, he would transfer the power over to the Knight of the House of Grimmery, giving him the speed needed to gain the edge in the fight. Using his sword burst, he would create multiple swords in every direction, Freed working to fend them off as best he could. As the fight would continue, soon Irina and Zenobia would make their way to the battlefield as well, joining in the fight as Valper would call for a retreat. Kiba, incensed in his own anger, would give chase to the two, as Zenobia and Irina would follow soon after. Naruto were preparing to rush forward to go along with them. However, before he could do so, he would be yanked by his collar and pulled back by Koneko. Naruto asking why she had stopped them. They would turn to see two magical circles forming in the back. Out of one would appear Sona, along with her assistants Tsubaki and Saji, who would have a very saddened look on his face, knowing full well that Naruto would be upset with him. And from the other would be Rias and Akino. Rias, happy to see that Naruto and Koneko were okay, would ask what had happened. With no choice, they would explain the situation, explaining how much it had changed, and Rias being immensely worried for Kiba. She would pull the two into a hug, telling them not to be so reckless and that she worried about their safety. Koneko apologizing, but stating that she were worried for Kiba as he were her best friend, and she couldn't fear to see him getting in harm. While Rias was grateful that the two were okay, unfortunately punishments would have to be given. It would then be seen to Naruto that he was going to be catching lashes across his ass. However, seeing Koneko and how much worried she had been, Naruto would ask Rias not to go hard on her, and that he would take the fall for it. Rias accepting these terms, Koneko would want to take her punishment, but Naruto would tell her that there would be no need. With that, Koneko would thank Naruto, and Naruto unfortunately would have to experience one of the more worser sides to being a devil. Even with his strength and pain tolerance, there was only so much that Naruto could take, and 1,000 lashes were easier said than done, especially with a magic circle. As some time would pass from then, no word would be given as to Kiba and the others' locations. Rias would soon realize that the situation had become much more dire, and that soon she and the others would have to get involved. Everyone would send out their familiars to go look and search for Kiba and the others. Eventually, Naruto's familiar, his tiny nine-tailed fox, would come across the body of Irina, who would have been injured from a fight with Freed, where she had been attacked and her holy sword was stolen from her. As the others would arrive to her location, healing Irina and making sure that she got proper medical treatment, they would soon be greeted by Freed Selzen once again. Naruto, in no forgiving mood, would be prepared to strike him down instantly. However, before he could even do so, he would be stopped, as Freed would explain that he were only here to deliver a message, before another magical circle would appear into the air. And from that, a man in a dark black suit, with long dark hair, would arrive, with 10 black wings, 5 on each side of his back, flying in the air. it would be revealed that he were none other than one of the leader class fallen angels. None other than General Kokabeel, the mastermind behind the whole attack. As he would come face to face with Rias Gremory, being grateful that the daughter of the Devil King himself had chosen to grace him with her presence, Rias would ask what Kokabeel's plans were, and just why he had arrived to this town. Kokabeel would reveal that everything that he had done up until now had been in his attempts to start a war. However, it seemed that his attacks were not catching the proper attentions, not from the leaders of the devils or even the leaders of the angels. Thinking that stealing the holy swords would be more than enough, but seeing as how it was not, he would then turn to more drastic measures, leveling the town completely, killing the sisters of the two devil kings, Lucifer and Leviathan, knowing full well that this would incite a war. He would mock his leader, the Governor General Azazel, stating that he were more interested in collecting sacred gears and that he had no intentions on starting a war, angering the fallen angel, as he believed during the last war that things were getting fun when all three sides decided to stop to avoid bloodshed. With that, Kokabeel would send out a massive attack, scrambling and sending everyone flying as he would disappear. The group would soon realize that Kokabeel were heading towards the school, and that was going to be the focal point of his assault. Realizing how dire the situation was, the team would head over to the academy building, where they could see in the distance that Kokabeel had built for himself a flying drone, while Valper had gone to work on the final stages of his plan, combining the 4 holy swords they had collected into one, a massive weapon that could be used to cause major destruction. With the situation as dire as it were, Sona would suggest to Rias for calling in her brother, Sir Zex, to aid them. Rias would be against it. However, before she could have a chance to deny the plan, Akano would reveal that she had already called Sir Zex, and that his forces would be arriving in 1 hour. While Rias would not be pleased, Akano would make it very clear that the situation had changed, and that even with all of their power combined, they couldn't defeat a fallen angel of Kokabeel's stand, not without the aid of the Devil King himself. With no choice, they would realize that they would have to hold him off for 1 hour, believing that that would be enough time for Sir Zex's forces to arrive and give them the assistance needed. As the team would prepare for battle, Naruto would take out a scroll that he kept within his shirt pocket. Unveiling it, the others would see what Naruto had been working on. His shinobi gear that he should always use in case a fight were to ever break out. Using the designs that he had been given by his father, he had made a personal Konoha vest, using materials that had been brought in, and having Asya help with the sewing for his pockets and things of that nature, as well as his headband that he would wear proudly into any fight. The others couldn't help but be impressed by Naruto and how on top of things he seemed to be when it came to fighting. It seemed as though it were second nature for him. As Rias would go over the game plan that would be used, she would allow Naruto to promote himself to Queen, to amplify his power to the highest degree, and to help boost the others so that they could work in a coordinated assault to take down Kokabeel once and for all. With that, the battle would get underway. As Naruto would work on promoting his boosted gear, he would create 2 more clones that would assist in the fight. As Kokabeel would summon Cerberus, the 3-headed dog of the underworld, in order to attack the group. Rias, Akano, and Konako along with the Naruto clones, would work to hold them off, as Naruto would boost himself to his absolute limits, allowing the others for a chance to defeat Cerberus, as well as take care of any of other Kokubil's schemes. After Naruto had reached his full limit, he would send his transferred power to the three ladies, as they would work and defeat Cerberus once and for all, sending him back to the depths of the underworld, as Kiba and Zenobia would have arrived as well to assist in the fight. Valper would have finished the unification of all four swords. Feeling its immense power, it would be revealed that one of the plans that would be used was to use the fused holy sword to destroy the town. As such, calamity of that magnitude would force both of the other sides to enter into a fray of the war, a war started by a fallen angel. Kokubil mocking that the only thing that he had wanted was to have a chance to fight and go all out, that had been stolen from him long ago, but that he would not lose this opportunity. Valper in the meantime would give the fused sword over to Freed, Kokubil deciding to have some entertainment before the destruction, allowing Freed to use the sword to destroy all of the devils in front of him. Freed would do so with pleasure. It would soon be revealed that the fused sword contained the powers of all four that had been rolled into one. The sword of rapidly for multiple speed, the sword of mimicry in multiplying, the sword of invisibility, and the sword of illusion. The illusion aspect of the sword would prove to be most devastating, as four more Freeds would appear onto the battlefield, making them hard to hit or take down. Naruto would be the only one with a power capable of matching Freed, using the Shadow Clone Jutsu. He would create four more clones, as the army of Freeds and the army of Narutos would move into a 5 versus 5. Kiba and Zenobia entering where they could to aid Naruto. However, the powers of the sword would prove to be far greater than any of them could realize. Soon, though, Kiba would be caught in his own vengeance, as he would attempt to try to take down Kokubil. However, he would be blasted away along with the others. As Valper Galilei would mock Kiba for being the one to have survived the Holy Sword project, Kiba would break down in his own emotions, asking why the church had done what they had done. Valper would simply smile, revealing that for a long time, his plans, everything that he had put into motion, had been stolen from him by the church, branded a heretic and cast aside. His research work was stolen and used to this very day. Within the human body, there was a special gene. Some had more than others, but the main point of the gene was that when used, it could allow one to wield a holy sword. However, in the world itself, there were not enough people who possessed enough of the gene to use a holy sword naturally. And as such, the gene had to be removed from various hosts, gathered together into a single crystal, that from there could bestow upon any human the ability to wield a holy sword. Kiba had been among many of the children whose genes had been taken. However, to steal this gene was to basically rip one's own life force, killing them. This would anger many who would hear this news. Even Zenobia, for as much as she were loyal and faithful to the church, she could not deny that her power came from such a tool, making her question her own faith, as Naruto had grown sick and tired of all of the lies in the world, as he felt his own rage beginning to brim to the surface. Valper would continue to mock Kiba, stating that by a long time, They had now been able to mass produce the crystal, with no martyrs needed. He would hold up the last one that were made, the one made from the soul fragments of his fallen comrades, throwing it at Kiba, stating that it was just as worthless as he was. As Kiba would go towards the crystal, picking it up and holding it close to his heart, feeling the souls of all of his comrades that had fallen, tragically, to the evil priest and his practices. His body would soon be enveloped in light, as soon visibly the soul fragment's remains would start to shine all around him, his comrades reassuring him and reinvigorating his hopes and his dreams. As they would fuse with Kiba's own soul, the holy and devil powers mixing as one. The power would be enormous and would rock the very ground they were standing on. Dreg speaking to Naruto, stating that his balance breaker had now reached into full resonance, that his dreams and his wishes had now finally merged as one. As Kiba would take this power within himself, he would feel that a new sword were brimming within him, causing it to emerge from the ground. It would be a sword made from the powers of a devil and that of a holy sword user. He had created his balance breaker, the holy devil sword. As Kiba would take his sword into his hands, Zenobia would feel that it were time for her to unveil her own trump card. Summoning her other sword that had been stored in another dimension, she would unchain the mightiest of holy swords, Durandal, a sword so great that it could cut through anything on earth, even Excalibur. As she had now taken Excalibur and unchained it to use in battle, she, along with Kiba, would take their fights directly to Freed, blasting away at his fused holy sword, chopping it to bits and completely destroying it, reducing it to nothing but a pile of broken metal, defeating him once and for all, and ruining Valper's plans. However, Valper would be engrossed in another situation, as something as unfathomable as a holy devil sword, a sword built on contradiction. It could not exist. If something like that could exist in the world, it could only mean one thing, one realization. It meant that he was, before Valper could even finish his sentence, Kokobile had already killed him, realizing that Valper had figured out much more than he needed to know. Now that the games were over and it was time to get serious, Kokobile would descend from his throne. With no longer having the fused holy sword, he decided he would take matters into his own hands, and he would wipe the town out himself. He would look to Naruto, telling him to give all of his power to Rias, to boost her to her highest abilities so that he could have a proper fight. As Naruto debated whether or not he should listen or give in to his demands, Rias would simply grab Naruto's hand, telling him that they were out of time and that this was their only chance. As the two would walk hand in hand towards Kokobile, Naruto's boosted gear continuing to level up to its max, as now the stage was set for the final fight against the fallen angel. Naruto would reach the limit of his boosted gear's power, transferring everything that he had to Rias, as she would begin to overflow with the immense power of the boosted gear itself. Kokubille remarking that her power had now jumped to a higher degree of potency, and that now she had destructive power that could even rival her brother Sir Zex. Rias would form multiple magical circles all around her, as she would attempt to annihilate Kokubille in a swift and powerful blow of crimson lightning. However, it would prove to be useless, as Kokubille would absorb the energy and send it flying back towards Rias. Akeno attempting to enter into the fray as well. However, she would be blasted away as well. Naruto would create shadow clones to move everyone out of the way, catching Akeno in the air and sending them back. Akeno would apologize to Naruto for wasting the power that he had given her. However, he would assure her that everything were fine, and that she didn't need to worry anymore, because he was going to deal with the fallen angel personally. As Naruto would step forward as everyone else would watch, Kokubille wondering if he were now going to get his fight in with the Red Dragon Emperor. Kiba and Zenobia would attempt to buy Naruto time, to boost himself to his maximum power. As they would do so, Naruto would look within himself, soon sensing the Nine Tails. However, Kurama would already know what Naruto were going to ask for, and while he didn't want to, he would only allow Naruto to use the power that he had already taken before. Naruto would ask if Kurama would be willing to share any more with him, but Kurama would snarl, stating that he couldn't handle that type of power. Naruto would look at him seriously, stating that now was not the time to play games, and Kurama would only roar back in anger, telling Naruto not to act like such a fool, that if he could truly handle all of Kurama's power, then he would have done so a long time ago, remarking that if Naruto took the power recklessly, then he would only end up getting himself destroyed in the process. He had too much hate in his heart. Even still, Naruto would ask for what power he could be given, and Kurama would state that he would allow him to draw the ample amount, but that from there he would be on his own. Naruto would take this, leaving as he would continue boosting his boosted gear. Taking a note from Kiba, he would decide that he would attempt to use his own form of resonance. It wasn't perfect. In fact, it was a rather flawed idea, and if he didn't do it right, he might end up killing himself in the process. But seeing the enemy that they were going up against, they didn't have a choice. Kiba and Zenobia doing their best to buy as much time as they could for Naruto. However, it would prove to be futile, as Kokubille would send them back with ease. Kiba only managing to get one hit in on Kokubille, cutting his face before Kokubille would blast him away again. Mocking Zenobia, stating that she were foolish to continue fighting, especially for false gods. When Zenobia would ask Kokubille what he meant by that, Kokubille would simply laugh, mocking her more, making her scream and beg for an answer. I guess at this point I really am trying to start a war. Very well, young girl. I will tell you the truth. During the last great war, God was killed, along with the 4 great devil kings. Everyone would be shocked at this news. The idea that God himself no longer existed in this world, that he had been killed in the last great war. Rias couldn't even believe it as reality, for it was something that she had never heard in her life. Kokubio would reveal that this had been kept a secret. For if the humans knew that God had been killed, then their faith would all but certainly die. For who could believe in a world where God no longer existed? As Asya would ask who exactly were keeping the system in play now, Kokubio would reveal that it had been the angel Michael who had taken the reins in keeping the holy system in place, knowing that things such as prayers and exorcisms could still work to an extent, but that for the most part, it were no longer as powerful as it once was. And that were the reason why something as contradictory as the Holy Devil's Sword could even exist in the first place. This would cause Asya to faint, and even Zenobia would have a hard time believing that something like this could even be possible. Rias, now understanding the gravity of the situation, would also falter as well, believing that she had now doomed her entire household. However, Naruto would not lose his faith, as he would step forward to Kokubio, as everyone else would watch on. His power was now brimming and ready to explode onto the surface. So you are going to challenge me, Red Dragon Emperor? That's right, I am. You see, I don't really care if God's here or not. Never really gave a damn about that bastard anyway. But as far as I'm concerned, you don't need to worry about God or the Devil King, because the one you are going to fall to is going to be me, Naruto Uzumaki Hyodo. As Naruto would allow his boosted gear to explode, it would soon double in size, as a second jewel would emit from the end of the gauntlet. His power would explode and bream in full unbridled rage and anger, as the cloak of the nine-tailed fox would appear around him once again, however this time even stronger and more potent than before. He would soon see two tails spring from the cloak. As the boosted gear elevated the two-tailed cloak, amplifying its power to its max, everyone would feel its earth-shattering power. Even Rias, feeling it being comparable to her own, no, even more comparable to Sir Zex himself. Kokubio would actually be taken aback by this power, wondering if this could even rival that of the four Devil Kings themselves. Kokubio would look exhilarated, thinking that now he was going to get the fight that he had been looking for, and Naruto would be the one to give it to him. Disappearing in a blur before reappearing right in his face, he would kick Kokubio and send them flying across the schoolyards. As Naruto would continue his onslaught, Kokubio would send out torrents of light spears at Naruto, but he would dodge them all effortlessly as he would maneuver through the air, creating a Rasengan his own way, using it to blast through the light spears. Kokubio would now be worried for a moment, as he would hold out his arm to block away the Rasengan. However, when it made contact, Naruto's amplified Rasengan would blow off Kokubio's right arm completely, causing him to yell in pain, thinking that Naruto had actually been able to do such damage. As Naruto would pour all of his power within the limited time that he had of the boosted gear's abilities, he would continue his beatdown on Kokubio once more. Everyone would be left in a stunned silence. Kokubio would regrow his arm and would now take Naruto much more seriously, the two engaging in combat with one another, Naruto feeling the vestiges of the boosted gear slowly leaving him, as now he tried to tap more and more into the power of the nine-tailed fox. However, before the fight could come to its end, and the two would be left in a stalemate, Kokabeel would feel that this were the fight that he had been looking for, noting that Naruto would truly be giving him the greatest of challenges. From then, another voice would be heard in the sky, mocking Kokabeel for even assuming that Naruto would give him the fight that he were looking for. As they would look up, Naruto and the others, they would see a being glowing in white armor, his very presence disintegrating the barrier that had been formed around the school. As he flew with his wings shining a bright blue, he would arrive down to Kokabeel, finishing the job and defeating him swiftly, before moving to take freed Selzen as well. His power being so great, it felt as if it were shrinking everything around them. As Naruto's own power would begin to subside, and he would begin to cool himself down, Dreg would speak from the gauntlet, stating that he would not be ignored by Albion, as the warrior in white armor would turn back to face Naruto. A different voice would be heard, one booming as well, stating that he were surprised to see that Dreg were still alive, the two noting that they were still destined to fight. Naruto would have his own questions, asking if he were the white one, the one that he had been told of. The voice would then confirm Naruto's suspicions, stating that he was the vanishing dragon, and that soon he and the Welsh dragon would engage in combat once again. However, unknown by the helmet that covered his face, Volley was very interested in Naruto, noting that he had more to him than just the dragon within his sacred gear, and that soon he would see what that power could do firsthand. With the battle now over, and everyone reunited once again, Kiba would apologize to Rias and to Naruto, and to everyone for what he had done, abandoning them and leaving them behind. However, Naruto would reassure him that everything were okay, and that all were forgiven, and that they were just happy to see that their friend had come home. Of course, Kiba would not get off the hook so easily, and he too would receive his punishment, 1,000 lashes. Naruto couldn't help but laugh to himself, Kiba yelling at Naruto as he had to endure his punishment. From there, time would pass and the damage done to the school would be replaced. Thankfully, they were able to rebuild it in time, and for the most part, life would seemingly go back to normal for the House of Grimmery, albeit with a new addition, as Zenobia would now have officially joined, making herself both a devil and a knight in the service of Rias Grimmery. Naruto would not be happy about this at all, being more irritated than anything, as he couldn't really stand Zenobia that much. He felt as though she had no expression, nothing within her, and that everything she said always sounded two-faced. However, Zenobia would try really hard to work on that. However, before continuing on in any form of merriment, Zenobia would then go to Asya, apologizing for what had happened. Now understanding what she had gone through as well, she would beg for her forgiveness. And to Naruto's own shock, but maybe not so much, Asya would gladly forgive her. Of course, Naruto wasn't completely convinced yet, and it would take a while before he could ever warm up to Zenobia after everything she had said. But still, for all the wrongs that had been done to Asya in her life, She was always able to look at the brighter side of things. And if she could show forgiveness, then he could as well. From there, not much would change for Naruto. While out one evening along with his friends, he would get a call from the man that he had had drinks with just some time before, as he had canceled on him on a few occasions on account of dealing with Valper and Kokobile. But now that he had free time, they were able to meet up. Naruto meeting with the older gentleman, still dressed in his black kimono. The two would talk for a bit and even play some video games. Naruto seeing that around his apartment, he had taken up collecting all sorts of gaming consoles. As they would wrap up their gaming session, Naruto would ask what made him want to collect so much. The man would simply smile at Naruto, chuckling a bit, stating that when it came to collecting things, it was a bit of a habit for him, and that once he started collecting something, well, he just couldn't stop. Naruto would feel that he had heard those words before, but not quite sure where they had come from. As they finished, the older man would look down to Naruto, asking if he wanted to play another game. However, as Naruto would turn, from behind the man's back, 10 black wings would emerge, Naruto being left in a state of shock, as he would reveal himself to be none other than the Governor General of the Fallen Angels, Azazel himself. And he knew that Naruto were the wielder of the sacred gear. This concludes What If Naruto Was in High School DxD, Season 2, Part 2, Rise of the White Dragon. As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is Power Core Productions and Podcastings that is to come out now and in the future. Also, stay tuned for tomorrow's one video that will be the Season 2 finale of What If Naruto Was in High School DxD Season 2 Rise of the White Dragon. Part 3 of the finale will be out tomorrow afternoon. But with that, we're going to conclude today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with Power Core Productions and Podcastings, signing off, and I'll see you next time.